Welcome to Citizen Survival Plan. My name's John. Welcome to the channel. We talk about all kinds of prepping topics on here, and today I want to get into rifle maintenance. This is going to be really important as we talk about maintaining AR-15s. This is America's most popular rifle, and during a collapse or SHTF, everyone's going to have one of these running around with them, and they are going to need to be maintained, repaired, and just taken care of in general. And today I want to go over every single thing you need to maintain and repair AR-15s for the long term. So we're going to go from just basic cleaning to maintenance parts the whole way to advanced repair, where you're actually removing the barrel and removing parts from this gun. I do have an entire video already on how to fully assemble a lower, and we'll put that here. So the first thing we're going to start with is just a basic cleaning kit. These can just be ordered from Midway USA or even like Amazon. I think this one's from Amazon, and we'll link everything that I have below. But this is just an AR-15 cleaning kit. It only has the chamber brush and the rod just to clean an AR-15. Another thing you can have, especially if you have a bunch of other guns, is just a full kit. This is from Real Avid, and we'll link this as well. One thing specific to the AR-15 you are going to need is a chamber brush tool. The bolt lugs lock into the barrel in a very specific way with the AR-15, and this is 100% necessary to keeping up with the maintenance of your rifle. So as far as cleaners go, everyone likes to use different stuff. I really like Ballistol. I use it to clean up the rifles, and then when I'm done with that, I usually use the Battle-Born grease on everything, and that is the only two cleaners I've ever used or needed. I know people have all kinds of stuff, but just to keep it simple, that's what I use, and it's only two things. So let's get into some basic maintenance with your rifle. When you're using it a lot or shooting it a lot, or you could just have a part that goes bad, or your buddy can have a part that goes bad. Having some spare parts on hand is going to be very important. I usually just set up a kit, and I have every single part that an AR-15 takes. I have a whole lower kit, a whole upper kit. But one thing that I think that everyone should always keep on them is just a bolt rehab kit. If anything's really going to go wrong with your rifle, it's probably going to be in the bolt. Those small pieces, the extractor, the ejector, and the small springs in there that keep your rifle running is what's most likely going to go bad. And having a bolt rehab kit to refresh things after a couple thousand rounds is a great idea. Other things would be a spare buffer and spring. The spring over time will just get weak. Having spare magazines, in my opinion, P-mags are the way to go. Other people use steel and whatnot, but I really just like the P-mags. They're nice and simple. They work really good, and I've never had any issues with them. You could store them up in the 20 or 30 round variety, but having at least 20 of these on hand that are unused and ready to be put into service is also a really good idea. So rifles take a bunch of different spare batteries. Typically what you're going to see is the 2032, which is the button battery that your red dots take. I like to store up a bunch of those, and they last a long time. I think the shelf life on them is like 15 or 20 years. And then also your rifle light batteries, whether it be the CR2 or the CR123s, storing that in your range bag or your rifle maintenance kit is also going to be really imperative. Some basic tools you just need for maintenance is as simple as having a flathead and a Phillips head screwdriver. A regular sized one, and then the really tiny ones I use sometimes to put pins into the lower receiver. These are punch sets. This is going to be something you're going to need. Mine are all mismatched because I have a chest full of tools in my garage, and over the years I've broke them and replaced them and stuff. Yours doesn't have to be like mine. And punches are used for a bunch of stuff. The lower, the bolt carrier group, also other guns. If you have a punch set, you're always going to need punches. So just getting a big set with all the sizes is probably going to be recommended. This is something I really like. This is a metric and standard bit kit. It has every Torx and Allen head bit that you would ever need. And then I just pair it up with a little bit wrench here, and this attaches to everything. And you can also just use a drill attachment to put on that. This is good for just putting hand guards on, the handrails, grips, putting sights on, all kinds of stuff that you would use that for. I use that bit kit all the time when working on AR-15s. A pick kit. I only have one here, but they usually come as a set. This is the one I just keep with my rifle kit. I usually just use this. It helps getting the cotter pin out of your bolt carrier group when you are trying to clean the rifle. So those are all the basic maintenance supplies that I would keep on hand or in a range bag ready to go. All this stuff is pretty simple and can be used in the field. So there's no need to like have a vise or anything with you to use that. And it can just be stored in your range bag if you really wanted. Let's get into advanced repair and maintenance. So this is the AR specific tools. They are going to be paired up with the basic stuff that I already talked about. The first thing that I'm going to recommend you get is the Essentials Armorer Kit at Midway USA. Now, I am not affiliated with this, but this is what I have, and I really like these tools. The first thing in that is just going to be a AR-15 Armorer's Wrench. This is good for tightening the castle nut on the back of your AR-15. It also has the muzzle device wrench that you could spin your flash hider or muzzle brake off with. This is essential to having an AR-15 and maintaining it. This is the torque wrench. This is for when you are removing the barrel nut and barrel from an AR-15 upper receiver. I prefer these over the click style torque wrenches because when I am tightening on an AR-15 barrel nut, I can see exactly where I am as I am tightening the bolt up. That way, if you're clocking the barrel nut to add a handguard, if you have the style that needs to be clocked correctly, you can see when you're going too high or when you're not quite there. And if you're not quite at like a tick mark yet or something, you can see how much further you have to go and where you're at. This just helps a lot with that. Some sort of breaker bar to get the barrel nut off. I usually just stick the crow's foot that I would tighten the barrel nut up with, and I would just put it on a large socket wrench. You don't want to be breaking the barrel nut off your AR-15 with your torque wrench. It's not made for that, and you could actually damage the torque wrench. So if you're going to be removing stuff that's really on there, just use a socket wrench or a larger breaker bar to get the stuff off. This is an upper vise block with the gas alignment tool. These go together. You put your upper receiver in this, and this goes into the upper receiver of the AR-15 and can go into a vise. And you can use this to actually clamp the upper down to remove the barrel and do the necessary repairs with the barrel off of the rifle. This is part of that, and it is labeled as a gas block alignment tool, but I mostly just use it to put this into the receiver so when I'm clamping it in the vise, I'm not crushing that upper receiver. I'm going to get into how we align our gas blocks in just a minute. This is the second type of upper receiver vise block you can use. It uses pins. I'm going to kind of show you how this works and why you might want this also with the other one. If you ever need to change a barrel device or something on an AR-15 and you didn't want to use the clamp style one, because this goes over the whole thing and you have to remove your sight. I like this if I just have to remove the gas block, rail, and flash hider to do something with the gas block, so I don't have to remove the sight to it. One reason I don't like using this to remove the barrel is you just have your lugs from the upper receiver in that, and I don't fully like twisting the barrel off with all that force with this just because it's only held on by 2 pins instead of being clamped down in a vise with this. I just worry that I'll break those 2 lugs off in the bottom, but the instructions say that it's okay to do that. I would just only use this for removing the flash hider and the gas block. This, in my opinion, is 100% necessary. This is a roll pin starter set. The end of these are hollow, so you can put pins in it and start putting your punch pins through things, because especially when you are doing the gas block and tube, that pin is so tiny that you almost need to use a starter punch to get the pin through. Most people are going to be setting up their rifle with a low profile gas block like this and a full rail like this one. When we set those up, I prefer to dimple the gas block. Now, there are some companies that will dimple the gas block for you before you get the barrel, but most of the time they're not. This is a KAK gas block dimple tool. And the hardest part about doing the dimpling of a barrel is figuring out the spacing. So, for instance, I use CMMG gas blocks. I know that the spacing is 0.470, and that is on here so I can dimple the gas block correctly. This simply just slides onto a barrel, and you drill a hole in the bottom, and you will have a dimple for your gas block. This prevents the actual low profile gas block from sliding side to side on your rifle and coming off of the gas port. This is 100% necessary when building a rifle. A lot of people talk about pinning them or welding them in place. I don't necessarily think that's necessary. I use all low profile gas blocks with the 2 set screws, but I always dimple the barrel, and I've never had one come loose. In my opinion, they only get tighter over time. They don't loosen up if they are torqued correctly from the beginning. There's a couple little last notable things I want to talk about. They're not 100% necessary, but they are certainly helpful. I have 2 stands pictured here. I'll roll them on the screen here. But one is like one that goes in your mag well. It's great for working on the lower and just maybe even cleaning your gun if you break it in half. And the other is more of just like a cleaning station. And I often will put the upper in that just so I can clean the barrel. I'll run the cleaning rod through it, and it is very helpful. Not necessary, but helpful. So these 2 stands are something you could keep in your shop and will certainly be helpful. This is something I do not have. But if you're someone who is prone to stripping things out or over tightening stuff, this is necessary. This is a torque screwdriver. So you could set the torque, especially for handrail screws and stuff, you could set the torque so you're not over torquing them. Some people who don't work on things a lot, or in my case, I work on things for a living, so I can kind of always feel when things are getting too tight or when, when to stop tightening. But for someone who doesn't do that or work on things for a living, this can be a problem. And this can really help if you are someone who's concerned about over tightening or stripping screws out. That should be everything. I've built multiple rifles with these tools and taken them apart and had friends' guns repaired with the tools that I have. I've never needed anything else, but feel free in the comments to let me know if there's a favorite tool or something you think that should be in this kit. I'd love to hear it. I want to reiterate one last time how important this really is going to be. With everyone owning AR-15s in this country, being able to maintain them could make you very, very useful. Just also keeping your own rifles running is going to be imperative. I hope you all enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.